Working as a DevOps engineer and working in IT in general, I often hear a lot of the same questions. So in this video, I'm going to try and answer them the best that I can using my experience and everything that's kind of worked for me over the years. For a very brief backstory, I've been working as an engineer for the last 5, nearly 6 years now. I have a historic background of, not historic, but typically my background has been in retail and logistics and supply chain. So I've not always been an engineer. I did a massive career change when I turned 30, and yeah, it's been going well for me so far. In them 5 years, I've done junior, intermediate, senior, and taken on some staff responsibilities as well. A question that gets asked is, what was it like for the first few months as working as an engineer, especially given that I was actually a career switcher? And being completely honest, it was very intimidating. Like, there's no two ways about it. I've come into this role halfway through I've just spent the last 15 years working in something else, and now I've come into, engineering, surrounded by people that have already been doing it for 15 years, and I've got 2 certifications and a couple of months experience. And there's no word of a lie, it was terrifying. I didn't know if what I was doing was right. I don't know if I was being silently judged, and it's a tough game. I think that imposter syndrome is present whether you're a entry level, like fresh out of college, or if you're doing like a career change like me. It doesn't go away. Even now, I still work, I've been doing it, like I said, for 5, 6 years. I work alongside people that have been doing it for 20, 15, a long, long time. But I still feel like, whoa, I'm not as good as these guys. Which is also kind of like the flip side of working in tech. Sometimes longer experience is actually a negative, depending on how they work. So, typically we've gone by Moore's Law, and 5 years, things change. Lately, these last 5 years have not been following that. They've been a lot quicker than that. So technology that people are learning now is relevant for now, and there is some technology that, let's take Jenkins, right? I've never used Jenkins. I know 10 years ago, it was like the de facto, that is what you used, everybody did it, it was great, it was fantastic. And there is people now with highly skilled, great experience with Jenkins. But in every job role that I've seen, it's not applicable because nobody's using it. Because the technology has moved on, things have changed. GitHub Actions is sort of like the go-to now because it's well supported, well documented, and it works really well I like it. I use it. It is my go-to. And I think that's where the imposter syndrome. It's like, yeah, great. I feel like intimidated by all these years of experience, but also they haven't played with some of the new technologies that I've played with. So it's more about working together to get the best outcome, learning sometimes these guys have got amazing mindsets when it comes to engineering and, software development life cycle and experience that you can't learn. But then when it comes to the technologies, that's where you can bring in the new stuff. So it's very much, you need to treat it as a partnership to really sort of succeed with, in your role and trying to mitigate that imposter syndrome. Or at least that's what I do, and it seems to work for me anyway, Except that, hey, you know this, and I know this, so let's just work together on that. What were the first tools I learned when I was getting into engineering? So 5, 6 years ago, when I started, I Googled it. Naturally, that's what we all do. What do I need to do to be an engineer? And mine came back as Cisco certifications, right? Networking, it was the CCNA, because that was like the gold standard. That's what everybody did. Cloud certifications was still kind of like a new thing. Kubernetes had been around for 5, 6 years. So it was slowly starting to be adopted at that time. So the first tool I was actually exposed to was working on the Cisco command line, which, unless you're actually working in networking and physical networks that you're actually using, maybe your business leverages it, I haven't actually used that command line tool for a long, long time. But the basic fundamentals of networking they have not changed. They have not changed. Would I still advise going and doing a Cisco cert or any kind of like CompTIA or something like that, yeah, definitely. Like networking can be applied to all sorts. It gives you a real sort of like good understanding of every level of networking, and that I still think, if I was to start again now, I would still do my networking certification. Like it's worth its weight in gold, which is a piece of paper, so it's not a lot. So it is worth doing. By pure chance, the next tech that I was actually exposed to was Kubernetes, and I think where I am now is just been because of that. I was so fortunate. They were looking to work with like VMware, which I used in that company, and I haven't used since. Like when I was there, when I first started, VMware was like every day, all day, and that was great. But since I left that company, I don't touch it. And there's not a lot of principles that I actually use in my day-to-day. Like not like networking. Networking I use every day. VMware, don't think I learned something that I could apply to another technology. Except they released Tanzu, which was their flavor of Kubernetes, and that I use every day and night, personal time, work time. Kubernetes is everything. And yeah, so that was like the second tech that I was exposed to, and it's fantastic. Obviously, everything uses it. Like majority of businesses now see it as that's the way they need to do things. And you know the way things are going, I don't think that's going to change. The only thing that might change is there might be a bit of a shift where people are moving from the cloud to bare metal, so they're running it on their own physical servers again. That could happen. That's a real possibility. But does that negate Kubernetes? No. No, people are still using it. People are still building tools for it. It's still it's the way. When you're talking about AI and you need somewhere to host it, Kubernetes is the logical solution because of the scaling. Once they figure, and I think they have, once they figure out like the GPU, CPU demands, which you can do now. I'm pretty sure I've seen a proof of concept, and probably in production it's used as well. I've just not seen it personally. Kubernetes isn't going anywhere. So Kubernetes 100% continue to be in demand in 2026, and I would learn it. So far, if I was starting again, it would be networking and Kubernetes, 100%. And the next one, ironically, like the ones I was exposed to is literally the order of which I would probably tell anyone to learn them again if they were doing it now. It was Terraform. You know, it was an infrastructure as code, and that again was like by chance. You know, I went for this job interview. They asked me to make an infrastructure, make something on Google Cloud using, you know, repeatable code. At the time, I actually just took screenshots of all the ClickOps that I did, so just clicking through the UI, and just gave them that. But then they were like, oh, no, we mean like IaC, like infrastructure as code. Things like Terraform, TerraGrunt, OpenTofu, you know, Crossplane. Naturally, at the time, I had no idea what they were talking about, so I had to learn Terraform very quickly. It was like 2 weeks to get proof of concept up for this interview, and then I spent the next year sort of like strengthening and, you know, adding some foundation to that knowledge of something that I actually just pushed together really, really quickly. Not using AI either, by the way, because this was like, yeah, like a few years ago when it wasn't anywhere near what it is now. And the last tool that I got into that probably helped me get to where I was in terms of engineering and everything was not so much a tool, but more a principle, understanding GitOps and declarative code and single source of truth, things like that. So yes, knowing a pipeline tool is fantastic. So GitHub Actions, Cloud Build, AWS's flavor, Circle CI, any of them is great, but they're only great if you actually use them the way they're meant to be. So if you understand the principle of where's my code, how is that version controlled, is it using Git, you know, is it stored in GitHub, you know, all these things. Ironically, that's something is a must. Git, like Git good is real. If you don't know Git, we've had many interviews over the last few months. I've had many conversations with interviews I've had for external companies. If you don't know Git, there's a problem, there's a challenge. So yeah, definitely one to learn there. Totally forgot to mention that because it's so foundational. I just forget to even mention it. Yeah, absolutely crazy. But yeah, the concept of GitOps and understanding that is, tools can be learned, but understanding the principle and the core concepts of GitOps is 100% needed. No two ways about it. And it's only going to change slightly. So, you get your DevOps pipelines, you got your data pipelines, you got AI pipelines, you got ML pipelines. They all have very similar sort of like foundational, concepts with just different parts that are moving. When it comes to actually getting the job and getting out there and getting in the market, it's really, really tough right now. Over the last 5-6 years, I have had half a dozen jobs. So for every year that I've been in tech, I've had a different job. I was, I'm fortunate enough to do half my changes through the COVID period. So people were taking on a lot of tech and then they were letting go a lot of tech. But that also forced me to become, competent at interviews, which has been different every year on year. The interview process, the interview style has changed a lot. That's something I would definitely highly recommend practicing. But the biggest challenge we have right now in terms of getting into the DevOps space or just any kind of engineering for tech is volume, right? So right now, if I was to look on LinkedIn, there'll be a few hundred job postings in the area that I want to work in. Cool. And then you got how many hundreds of people coming out of college, who are looking to get into it. How many thousands of people are leveraging an AI tool to just absolutely burst and smash it for the resumes and CVs? That's the problem. So it's not right, it's not okay, but a social public profile is definitely a requirement for getting a job. Unless you can physically go into an office and say, hello, sir, here's my resume, or hello, man, whatever, hello, person, then you're just a number of thousands and thousands. I am a massive, I love LinkedIn. 20 years ago I was on Facebook all the time. That was like life, right? Maybe Snapchat, that's a thing. It's still a thing. I just can't use it anymore because I don't understand what it is anymore. But LinkedIn is now my new social platform. That's what I check daily. I look to see who's looked at my profile, who's reading my posts, who's commenting on my posts. But my posts and my content that I am pushing out there is all tech. What I'm doing, what I'm playing with, what I've read, what I learned, what I broke. I break things a lot. And that's the stuff that gets you noticed. And I really do believe in that. And I say it not because I just believe in it, but because of the experience that I've had. I have been contacted multiple times by people that work in recruitment, by people that work in companies, to say, hey, we're looking to fill this job. Are you interested? They're coming to me. They're asking me if I want to work for them, rather than the other way around. I'm not chasing them. And I'm not doing anything special. I'm doing nothing special. I'm posting the same things a few hundred other people are. The difference being it's a few hundred other people surrounded by people who are actually interested in that space, rather than, and I don't mean this in any sort of manner, sometimes if you're one person in a HR recruitment department and you get 1,000 or 10,000 applicants, you are not going to go through all of them. You are going to either cherry pick a few. You might look for some keywords maybe, but let's face it, they're all going to have the same keywords. If you use AI, who knows exactly what kind of screening process that's going through. If it's any of these AI screeners that are checking to see if AI wrote it, if you are proficient in writing, you will fail because you're doing it correctly as per the correct English language. But you'll be penalised because AI will assume, no, wait a minute, a person can't read it this well. They're useless, but they are being used. They're being used a lot. So that's a challenge. What else? What was I saying? I was talking about the HR, right? I wouldn't go through tens of thousands. You would just pick some. You pick the first 100. You pick whatever it is. It's really, really difficult. It's a difficult market. On top of that, the job titles are changing, the job roles are changing. I've been a platform engineer, cloud engineer, architect, consultant, SRE, DevOps, but I'm doing the same thing basically in every single role. I think, I'm pretty much doing the same thing in every single role. So that's where it becomes, when you're looking for jobs, you're focusing more on the tools that they're looking for rather than the job titles. My most recent role, SRE, Site Reliability Engineer, that is, by definition, I should only be looking like, uptime, improving monitoring, uptime, SLIs, SLOs, being there as, a firefighter and preventing future, occurrences, and always looking for ways to improve things. But I still manage, but my actual job, I do that plus the DevOps side of it, plus the platform side of it. So the titles are very fluid, and that's not something to follow either. And then to top that off, the HR don't always understand the titles, so they copy and paste the template from something else, and the whole thing is just a mess. It's a real mess. In my experience, people I've spoken to, recruiters I've spoken to, HR I've spoken to, things like that, it's really, really messy. So the best thing you can do is make yourself public, post, create, make, break, make it public. I put some stuff on my YouTube. And even through that portal, I had people email me saying that they're recruiting at their company and they'd be happy to give me a reference. What more could you want? I've been very fortunate that when I've actually interviewed for a position, 9 times out of 10, I would say, if 1 in 2, maybe, I get a positive result. I may not always accept it, but it's normally a positive outcome. So I've been very fortunate, but I practice. I practice what I do, I practice interviews, I practice questions, constantly learning. To wrap up this kind of video as a whole, for anyone looking to get into the DevOps space, learn some foundational tools, infrastructure as code, Kubernetes, Git, and GitOps principles, 100%. Is there still a market for it? Yes, there is. Learn, once you've got these foundations down, you can start looking at things like AI tools and stuff like that. Because you can use that. You can be the AI infrastructure guy. You don't have to be the AI guy that knows embedding and RAG and all this stuff. Know it at a top level, but learn the basics first. The jobs are still out there. You just kind of have to make yourself stick out like a sore thumb. For anyone that's looking to get into DevOps, leave a comment down below. Let us know what your plan of action is. What tool are you going to be learning, or what tool are you currently learning? And I'll see you in the next one.